Welcome back, and at this point you've successfully created and configured the general AWS account which you'll be using throughout this course. Now, I mentioned earlier in the course that to make this realistic, to give you the experience of working with a multi-account environment, we're going to be using different AWS accounts and connecting them together using an AWS organization. Now, I'll be covering what AWS organizations is later in the course, but next I'll want you to go ahead and create a brand new production AWS account. So this is a completely separate account than the general account that you've created up until this point of the course. As you move through the course, certain demos will require multiple AWS accounts in order to demonstrate certain technologies. For example, cross-account storage using the simple storage service. Whenever we're using demos which only require one account, we'll be using the general account. Any demos which require multiple accounts will also be using the production account. So at this point, I want this to be a do-it-yourself lesson. I want you to go ahead and create the production AWS account with exactly the same configuration as you have done for the general account. Now, creating and configuring the production account will involve a number of steps. First, you'll need to decide on an email address to use for the production AWS account. Now, because this is a brand new account, a completely separate AWS account from the general AWS account, you'll need to use a unique email address. Now, don't forget the Gmail plus trick that I detailed earlier in this section of the course. This will allow you to use the plus sign in an email address, and this will mean that you can generate an infinite number of unique email addresses which all go back to the same Gmail account. So you'll need to configure an email address that's different from the one that you used for the general account, and you'll need to use this for the production account. Once you've got that email address configured, then you'll need to go ahead and follow the exact same sign-up process to create the production AWS account. Now, you can use most of the same values, so the same name, the same address. You'll need to choose a different account name. I recommend using -production instead of -general, like you used when you were creating the general account, but you can use on the whole the same details. You'll be able to use the same credit card, you should pick the same support plan, but at the end of that process, you'll be logged in to the AWS console of the production AWS account, a brand new account. You'll also need to follow the same steps to secure the production AWS account, which means adding multi-factor authentication to the account root user of that production account, and you'll need to log out and log back in to test it. Now, make sure when you're adding MFA to the account root user, you're adding the MFA as a separate code or separate profile within your multi-factor authentication application. So whether you're using Google Authenticator or 1Password or Authy or any of those other tools, make sure that you're adding the MFA for the account root user of the production AWS account as a separate MFA within that application. Don't try to use the same MFA setup that you used for the general AWS account. Once you've added MFA, you'll need to go to the billing console, go to billing preferences, and check the same 3 checkboxes that you did for the general account, also adding your email address for any alerts. Then you'll need to go to budgets and create a budget, also the same way that you did for the general AWS account. If you've forgotten any of those steps, feel free to re-watch the previous lessons and just adjust the configuration for the production AWS account. You also need to remember to go into the account settings of the production AWS account and enable IAM user and role access to billing. And then optionally, if you did this in the general account, you can also add those 3 different account contacts to that same account screen. But remember, this is optional. Now, I want you to follow all this process yourself without any guidance from me, because I want you to be comfortable setting up a brand new AWS account. I'm super confident that you can do this. You rock. You followed every step of the process from beginning to end for the general account, so you can just do the same thing for the production account. So at this point, go ahead and complete this video and then create and configure the production account, and I look forward to seeing you when you've completed that in the next lesson of the course.